Adamski's articles on cosmic philosophy. They were moralizing and often singularly pointless. The network of co-workers was still alive and well. They continued to correspond, publish bulletins, hold meetings and await the arrival of the space people. But Adamski's communiques to them became briefer and less frequent, and finally he put C. Honey in charge of the network. He had decided to concentrate, he explained, on cosmic philosophy and other vital concerns. The nature of those concerns soon became apparent. In March 1962, Adamski announced that he was about to leave for Saturn, to attend an interplanetary conference. He would bring back, he promised, the highest teachings ever given to Earth people. He would also attempt to send, from the conference, a telepathic message to co-workers around the world. They were told to meditate at a specified hour, and to have pencil and paper ready. Only one of them succeeded in receiving the message. It was a brief greeting. But all were soon receiving in the mail a copy of report on my trip to the 12 counselors meeting of our sun system. The Saturn report, as it became known, was disturbing to many of his followers. The problem was not that he had gone to Saturn, they expected no less, but that he had gotten there by a disreputable means. Adamski had traversed the millions of miles via a kind of astral travel. Astral travel involves zipping about in one's non-material body, and Adamski had denounced as frauds those claiming to have engaged in the practice. They were mystical hucksters, who undermined the credibility of authentic fellows like him. That psychic stuff, astral bodies, automatic writing, spirit entities, was nonsense, and he had told his followers to stay away from it. But now he did a turnabout, and became preoccupied with a grab bag of mystical practices. He experimented with Ouija boards and hypnotism, wrote about witchcraft, speculated on the past lives of those around him. And he engaged in trance mediumship, something the old Adamski had especially denounced. During one trance he insisted Orthon had possessed him and was speaking through him. Many of his followers were scandalized. A ride in a flying saucer, a nuts and bolts ship, had been easy for them to accept. But astral travel, reincarnation, possession by spacemen, these were beyond the pale of belief. C. Honey, who was editing the newsletter, wrote to Lusenstad, "Recent articles by George were so far out I could not publish them." Was Adamski exploring the borderlands of human experience? Or, the view of his detractors, cracking under the strain of an ongoing imposture? Then came the matter of the postal box. In October, copies of a mysterious note were received by co-workers. The note was written in hieroglyphic characters, with an English translation. "You are doing good work. Adamski is the only one on Earth that we support." The return address was a postal box in Glendale, California. Around the same time, a classified ad, offering to put qualified persons in touch with the space people, for a fee, appeared in newspapers. The address was that same postal box. Adamski denied any connection with the note or the ad. But it was discovered that he had secretly rented the postal box. Could the old man be going off the beam, as fellow contactee Sonia Lubin, who was staying with him at the time, was telling people? He was acting like a two-bit charlatan. His followers began to doubt Adamski. They saw him as defecting from his mission and betraying the space people. Even Lucy McGinnis, his devoted secretary of many years, left him, unable to bear what must have seemed to her a self-betrayal. Adamski's career was in decline. Yet a final moment of glory awaited him. In 1963 he flew to Copenhagen and delivered a series of lectures. Afterwards he stopped in Switzerland, for a visit with Luzinstag. She greeted him with enthusiasm. But it was not the Adamski she remembered. He had become, she says in her book, boastful, flippant, inattentive to others. Zinstag found herself dismayed by this new persona. Why the change? She speculates that he had come under the influence of malevolent spacemen. And she knew that some of his recent projects had come to naught. It does not seem to have occurred to Zinstag that he might be sagging under the weight of decades of deception. Whatever the case, his visit was proving a disappointment. At times, however, he became his old self, sincere, jovial, friendly. He would tell jokes or address some fascinating topics, and the two had a few wonderful hours of perfect understanding. Then Adamski made a startling announcement. He wanted her to accompany him to Rome, where he was scheduled to meet with the Pope. Zinstag looked at him in astonishment. The Pope? Adamski nodded and insisted that a meeting with the Pope had been arranged. From his pocket he took a package. It contained a message, he said, from the space people, who had asked him to deliver it to the Pope. Zinstag was dubious. But they flew to Rome, and were soon making their way to the Vatican. As they approached the Apostolic Palace, Adamski looked about for the papal representative with whom he was supposed to rendezvous. There he is, I can see the man. Please, wait for me at this very spot in about an hour's time. He descended his steps, and going to the left, entered a doorway, from which Zinstag thought to discern someone gesturing to him. She was puzzled, though, having expected Adamski to turn right and go in at the main entrance where the Swiss guards were posted. After an hour she returned, to find Adamski waiting for her and grinning like a monkey. On his face was an unforgettable look of sheer joy. The Pope had received him, he said, and accepted the message from the space people. Adamski showed her a commemorative coin, and described how the Pope had given it to him, in appreciation of his having delivered the message. Had this meeting truly taken place? The coin dispelled any doubts Zinstag may have had. She told herself, it could only have come from the Pope. George had met with him. Adamski returned to California with his memento. And he sank deeper into questionable activities. He peddled instructions for traveling, via self-hypnosis, to other planets, and he published a study course that was an updated version of questions and answers by the Royal Order of Tibet, with all references to Tibetan masters altered to Space Brothers or Cosmic Brotherhood. His final years were marred by a schism in his organization, and it began with a dispute over copyrights, and Adamski accused C. Honey of publishing under Honey's own name, of ideas and materials stolen from Adamski. The two men split. Co-workers sided with one or the other, and everything began to fall apart. Even Luzinstag, appalled by his descent into mysticism, broke with Adamski. Yet she felt beholden to him, and can still call him friend. Never in my life can I forget the thrill and the happiness his books and former letters brought into my life. He continued to travel and lecture, to meet with followers who had remained loyal, and to dwell on Mount Palomar. Over Mount Palomar, on cloudless nights hovered the moon, looking like a pale glowing orb in the night sky. A beautiful night that astronomers scrutinized and that coyotes yapped at, the night owls hunted, and the howling of wolves. George Adamski, who had flown around Mount Palomar Mountains, gazed dreamily at the clear night sky full of stars, and the moon glowing. reminiscing of his early years as a stargazer, remembering his first 6-inch telescope.